Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another This Week in Holy Banana Bread. What a week it has been. As you can see, I've got the news banner over on the side updated to the right time this time around. Last week, I think I forgot to update the date, which is so embarrassing. And of course, it was picked out. So that's what I like about you guys. You guys are totally observant, which is awesome. All right. Today, we got a little bit of news. So we got some stuff going on over there, and we've changed the board a little bit, made it a little bit more multicolored, well, less multicolored. So that's going to be good. I think I'm probably going to look at changing the lettering. The black text, I don't think it's showing up as well, but we do have this little thing for when we get to the news. Anyway, you guys will see that all momentarily. I have added the Blossom logo there. One, just to show that I need to remember to mention Blossom. So if you guys want to see my portfolio, down below is a link to the Blossom social media app. It is fantastic. I use it a lot. It's basically an app that you can load on your phone or your tablet as well, and it will allow you to see what's in my portfolio. It also will let you talk to a lot of like-minded folks like us. So it's a great tool for the community. It's a great way to talk back and forth. It's a great way to get really fast answers, because sometimes if you message me and you say, hey, Candace, help me with this, if I'm not available for a couple of hours, you could have just gone on to Blossom, threw it up, and get 5 or 6 results that might at least get the fire stoked on a solution for you. So Blossom is awesome. Down below, check that out. Huge thank you as well to those of you who are watching this on the replay. You guys make up a good chunk of my overall viewership, so thank you to you guys. And, of course, a big thank you to those of you who are here live. We've got Save Our Planet. So, hi, everybody. I hope to catch live. If you guys have time, or if you have time, a question for the live. What are some good growth, no dividend Canadian stocks to research for cash account? Thanks for the great videos. Well, thank you. That is a fantastic question, and I'll tell you why, because I need to know what your goal is in that cash account. So if you're still here, Save Our Planet, this is what I'd like to know. Are you looking for doing it? Are you looking for growth stocks that you're using for swing trading? Are you looking for long-term investments? Or are you even looking at day trading? Whatever it is, there's going to be a completely different answer. So for example, with swing trading right now, one of my favorites lately has been some of the Bitcoin ETFs over at Purpose. So I've been using those because I can get in and out fairly quickly, make a little bit of money. That's a good thing. Now, if you're thinking, of course, long-term, when it comes to growth, if you're thinking very long-term, the banks right now are an excellent opportunity. Now, keep in mind, you have to have patience with the Canadians, with the big six, because it's going to take them a while to get out of this hole. And there's already a lot more issues coming towards them when all those people who are currently on fixed mortgages, when those all come up for renewals in a couple of years, all those great deals they had in the pandemic are not going to be there. And a lot of people got sort of suckered into the whole, this interest rate is going to be really low for a long time. Now, the government even said that as well. And, when you hear the government say something like that, you're kind of like, okay, it's probably true. But it wasn't. And now we're in a situation where, we've got a prime rate of 5%. And if you actually look at the overnight rate is 5% with the Bank of Canada, but the prime rate with the banks is 7.2%. So you're looking at higher interest rates, and you're not going to get some of these sweet deals. And a lot of people can't afford it. So that's coming down the road for the banks. But once they get past that hurdle, right now, there's a lot of room for them just to grow to get back to where they were. So that alone makes them good investments long-term. Companies like CNR, another good investment, or CP. CP might be an interesting midterm one, because even though I still like CNR better long-term, I think midterm, over the next couple of years, you're going to see more growth on CP as they reap the benefits of that merger with Kansas City Southern. So that's something to keep in mind. All right. And Jay's in the house. Good day, Jay. And we got Sammer saying, hello, guys. Hello, Sammer. It's good to have you here. And we got, of course, lots of news. So we'll start off with one of our news stories just to get the ball rolling. So the heat is on. Of course, when I thought of that title, I instantly started to think of the Glenn Fry song from the 80s, you know, I can't go any further because then I might get copyrighted. It's funny. I actually, one of the funny things is there were some YouTubers that not this Tom Cruise version of Mission Impossible, but a couple of, I think the version before that, they hummed out the theme to Mission Impossible just saying the words Tom Cruise the right way to make the theme, and they got a copyright strike for it. I was just like, wow, I could not believe it. So sometimes you got to be a little bit careful with what you say online and how far you go without getting one of them copyright strikes. But all right, let me talk about the heat is on. So what is that all about? So the heat is on has to do with, of course, the temperature. We have record heat all over the world right now, and it's ridiculous in some places. Now, south of the border, down in the Midwest, they're undergoing, because of the heat and the lack of water, the lack of rain, they're looking at a historic drought. And when we say a historic drought, the last time it's been as bad as it is right now was back in the 1930s during something called the Dust Bowl. So this, of course, if they don't get some rain, if they don't find a solution, they're looking at a lot of issues for agriculture. And if you look at the Midwest, that's a big part of the America's breadbasket, and that could cause a lot of issues in the food supply. Now, it's not going to hurt us as much because we get a lot of the same stuff coming out of our prairies, but it will still impact, I think, everybody. Now, another thing that happened as well, down in good old Georgia, they actually lost 90% of their peach crops this year, and that was due to a couple of events. In February, they had an unprecedented amount of heat, and then they followed that heat up with frost. That basically almost wiped out their whole crop of peaches, so no more peaches. Now, the price down there, peaches, you used to be able to get a box of peaches for $17 American. Now you can be paying up to $60 American this year for a box of Georgia peaches. All right. Wow. I don't know why that word was giving me some difficulty today. But that's really interesting. We're at a situation where a lot of these weather issues that we're having around the world, well, it does impact different things. And food is one of those things that we have to really kind of watch. We still have a situation with inflation where food is still way too expensive. We don't want to be adding any extra struggle to that, adding extra costs. So that's one of those things. And also when you're dealing with the environment, whether you're a subscriber to climate change or not, the reality is when we get these storms, the storms don't care what you believe in. They're going to come in and they're going to damage supply chains. They're going to create issues for farmers. And farmers are one of them groups, especially in Canada as well. I mean, Canada, you had the Liberals at one point wanting to regulate the amount of nitrogen farmers could use. So I feel for the farmers. When the farmers start losing crops, it does impact every single one of us. So let's just keep that in mind. All right, we got a few more folks in the house. Chad is in the house. Good day, everybody. And Chad holds CP and CNR. Yeah, so do I, absolutely. Abalash says, hey, Candace and Banana Bread fans. I think we're calling you guys the Banana Bread Army. I don't know why, but I think that's what we're calling you guys. But, that's up for debate. We'll have to come up with some nicknames, and then we'll throw them all into a poll, because you guys know how I love democracy. Let's see, hand pink waving. Oh, that's an emoticon. For some reason, some of the emotes come across and some of them don't. Because if I look over here, I also have it on the YouTube right over here, because if I want to see, for example, if someone sends a super chat, I won't see it on my StreamYard, but I will see it over there on YouTube. And I want to make sure that if somebody does something like that, that I'm able to give them, the proper credit right away for that. And let's see, Chad says he is a prairie man. Awesome. Yeah, I love the prairies. I did live in Calgary for a while, and that is, you get a little bit of the prairies. You don't get the full amount, but driving in the prairies is fun, especially at night. The stars, you can just see the horizon is crazy. Pretty darn cold in the winter though, but you gotta sometimes you have to pay. Also, I think a lot really stormy in the summer, and I am a fan of storms, so that would be kind of cool. Abalash says interest rates will likely stay still. Do you think the market will remain volatile until year end? I'm recycling money between fixed income ETFs and stocks. Do you think that this is a good plan? That's a good question. I think interest rates are not moving. I think right now we're going to sit at 5%. I think they're going to hold. Well, the next actual meeting is not until September, so we're definitely holding for the rest of the summer. In September, as long as inflation is still moving in the right direction, I don't think they're going to do anything else. There was a report that had come out. It was by one of the banks that said that they thought that they were going to hold at 5% for a long time. And I think they will, unless we get some sticky inflation. I think if we get sticky inflation, they're not going to hesitate to go higher, but let's hope that doesn't happen. The nice thing is where we are waiting till September, it gives a little bit of time to filter some of these rate hikes into the system, and that should be hopefully really, really, really good. All right. Chat says Saskatchewan has bad grasshoppers this year. Ooh. Yeah, and grasshoppers are not good. And of course, as soon as somebody says grasshoppers in the prairies, I start thinking of locusts right away, like biblical plagues. It's like, but anyway, no, there's a lot of pests like that. And, whether it's the weather that's causing them to proliferate, but we need to deal with grasshoppers too. Meant to say good afternoon, but don't have my glasses. Okay. Hello from Niagara on the lake, or at least somewhere's in that area. Awesome. I went to Niagara Falls once. Now, mind you, it was in the middle of winter and it was like -30, so didn't really get out to enjoy it. But I do want to get back to Niagara. That's on my list of things I want to go back to see pretty darn soon. Banana Bread Militia. That's a little bit better than Army, I think. Wow, we're gonna have to definitely have a vote on some of these. Zach says howdy. Hello, Zach. Good to see you. And Wayne is like my I say it's in September. He will get the date for me every time. I love it. So yes, September 6th will be that day. So that's like, I think that's just after Labor Day. I'm not sure what day Labor Day is on this year, but anyway, it's around that time. So that is next up on the agenda for sure. All right. Let's see here. Darren asks, hi Candace, better growth stock, Alphabet or Brookfield? Oh, that's a good one. That's a good question. Now, when you're thinking Brookfield, now are you thinking BN or are you thinking BAM? That's because that might be a different answer. I think they're both going to be solid growth stocks. I do hold Alphabet and I do hold Brookfield Asset Management. So I hold both of them. And I don't know which one's going to win. Right now, we have this big surgence. We've had from the beginning of the year, we've had a very big pump in the NASDAQ. I don't think that's going to last forever. I think that's starting, some of the hype around things like AI is starting to die down. So I think you're not going to see as much growth in the second half of the year for like Alphabet as you have in the first half. So if I went purely on instinct, and this is just pure opinion, pure me picking it from my gut, I would probably lean towards Brookfield Asset Management. But at the same time, I don't think you could go wrong with either. So I would say both. If you got room in your portfolio for both, you're probably better off. Then that way there, if one performs and the other doesn't, you're still doing okay, which is not too bad. Zach says, Candace, how long have you been investing? Do you believe I will start to see the snowball start after 5 to 7 years? Well, to be honest, the snowball, you'll see the snowball immediately. It's just that when you start a snowball, it's hard to notice that it's getting bigger initially. But as it moves, it does pick up more and more. And it comes down to a couple of different things. How much you're putting into, like how much you're adding. If you're adding like regularly to your account, that really helps because that gives it a bit of a boost. Also, are you reinvesting? Are you reinvesting in the same stock, or are you doing strategic reinvesting? So what I mean by that is, for example, I take my dividends, and just because I got dividends from Canoe, it doesn't mean I'm going to invest in Canoe. I'm going to invest in whichever is the best opportunity dividend-wise at that moment. So I kind of strategically help that snowball grow a little bit better. So 5 to 7 years, so yeah, of course you should see a difference. When you look at your portfolio and over 5 to 7 years, if you don't see a difference, then you want to sort of start looking at, well, okay, what am I doing wrong? Or is it the market? It may not even be you. Like if, for example, you started this at the beginning of a rough 5 to 7 year patch, it may not look as impressive as if, we're moving into a bull market. Now, I do believe we're heading towards a bull market. It's not going to happen right away, especially there's so many factors. Like we should have had a recession, but it doesn't. Some people are now thinking we're not going to get a recession. That's going to be really interesting to see how this all rolls out. Like there are still indicators. For example, when you look at the reverse yields on the treasury bonds, they're still saying that there should be a recession coming up. That's okay, Siri. They're still saying that something should be happening, but so far, no. So far, it hasn't happened. Maybe it won't happen. A lot of people think it would be healthier for the economy if it did happen. So we have to keep all of that in mind. And there we go. September 4th is Labor Day. My main div growth ETFs are VDY, XEE, HCAL. Your stocks are ENB, TFTS, POW, and SRU. Now, Enbridge right now is in a crazy good spot when it comes to an entry point. One of the reasons is that it's down quite a bit. So the yield you're actually getting on Enbridge is crazy high. I think it's like up above 7% now. So it is really, really good. I love Fortis. Fortis has always been one of my big ones. And I think everybody loves Power Corporation of Canada. They kind of own Wealthsimple, not officially, but they own the biggest stake in Wealthsimple. So that to me is not a bad thing. And of course, TELUS is good. And REIT-wise, I'm a little bit more skeptical on some of the REITs, but they're going to eventually recover. That's kind of the neat thing. And REITs you got to keep in mind, REITs are not really designed for growth. They're designed for income. So even though a lot of these REITs are in lower positions than they normally are, they're still providing you with a steady source of income. And when they do recover, you'll just basically, if you look at the 10-year and you look at where they were before the pandemic, that's pretty much the potential that they have. They could eventually get back up to that level. So there could be some growth on some of these, but a lot of these ones, you're not going to see them go much higher. There are a few exceptions to the rule, but other than that, all right, let's see here. I am falling far behind in chat. OFC gets divs from VEQT and VFV, but I don't really count those as div ETFs. Okay, that's fair enough. Let's see. VFY, VDY, ZID, ZBB are my favorite ETFs. Oh, it's funny. I used to years ago do tech support for American customers in the South. So I pretty much at that point trained myself to not say Z and to always say Z. And now I'm like, every so often, I'm now trying to train myself to not say Z. But that's cool. Vic says, by the time I get home, this will be over. Oh, dear, Vic. You could always maybe just, I don't know if you can just stream it in your car and listen. You don't really need to look. That would be my recommendation. Let's see. Telcos have been in the dumpster since May. How soon do you expect dividend cuts? That's a good question. Right now, I don't see any indication of it. It really is going to, I think, with the telcos, we really need to see how this is all going to unfold with Quebec and Freedom, because now that Freedom has gone national, I need to see if this is going to start pulling some of these guys down. Now, I do know that Bell and Telus have just raised their connection fee by $10, so they're still pulling in a lot of money, and there's a lot of service charges with the telcos. It's crazy, but you know, that is that's going to be fun. Let's see. Give me a quick hi. Hi, Vic. But yeah, so the telcos, I can't say when they're going to be, when we can expect dividend cuts. I don't see them as being imminent right yet. And I know the last one I did a deep dive on, they had enough stuff going on in the background that their dividend didn't seem to be in any kind of danger. So right now, I would say not immediately, but let's see what happens the rest of the year, and that will kind of give us a general idea. Oh, yeah, that's a good amount, $1,200 a month. Yeah, Zach, I imagine that you probably already have a snowball there, but a lot of times when people think about the snowball, they think about when it's moving faster and faster and faster. You got to look at just the math, and I do a lot of statistical analysis on my account because I like to see what's going on, and that's the thing. Do some analysis and look at how big, how much dividends you're making each month. So do a spreadsheet, keep track, and you'll see it keeps going up. And then what your goal is over, when you look at it from last year and then you look at it from this year, those dividend numbers should be getting bigger every single year. Heck, they should be technically getting bigger every single month if you're doing reinvesting. Now, if you're using Wealthsimple, the nice thing with them is that you've got the fractional investing. So you can, if you don't get enough money back to buy a full share, you can at least get a fractional share in a lot of different stocks. There are some stocks that they don't have fractional investing on. And Vic's saying, dude, that's like rent. Yeah. Well, $1,200 now is almost like rent. It's like renting a room in some cities. And Zach says, thank you. And let's see, Vic bought Telus and TIXT. I'm not familiar with TIXT, so but Telus, yeah, I do like Telus. AN likes Telus. Vic hates Telus as a customer, but love it as a stock. Yeah. And we got the friggin' Oracle in the house. Hello, friggin' Oracle, Ken. And Zach is in here. Yay, I got in SRU at 2360. Not bad. I meant to drip and hold, Vic. Yeah. And that is one of the things too. Wealthsimple has now added drips, so you can actually with some of. I don't know if it's with every account, but some of the stocks are eligible for dripping, which I have a feeling that it's probably. And I haven't looked at this. This is a wild guess, guys. This is a wild guess, but I have a feeling that Wealthsimple is probably putting drips on the ones that they have fractional shares available because that makes it so much easier. Zach says, true. On Blossom, my divs are growing and growing. Nice. You see, that's a nice thing. Yeah, there you go. Zach knows about Blossoms. Any of you guys who are not on Blossom right now, seriously, use my link below. Get in there. Say hi to me there. Follow me. I'll follow you back. Just check it out. It doesn't cost anything. It's a great little app. And I have a feeling once you just get into some of the conversation and see some of the news and stuff like that, I have a feeling you guys will love it. So if you're not there yet, well, by all banana bread, get there now. You guys need to be there. All right, let's get to the next. News story. I finally caught up. All right. So Hollywood is officially closed. Simple as that. So if you like your entertainment, well, you're going to have to get used to a lot of non-Hollywood fare. So what's happening in Hollywood is the strike. Everybody knows about the writers' strike. The writers are on strike. Now, the actors have now joined them. So 160,000 actors have joined the writers on that picket line. And this is the first Hollywood shutdown in about 60 years. So it's a long time. The biggest issues that they're having, and the writers are having the same kind of issues, is that AI and streaming for the actors are their big issues. One is that they want AI protection. So they don't want their likeness being used by AI to make movies or shows without, first of all, their permission and also compensation. So, and that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't think there's been a case of this happening yet. I mean, yes, there have been digital likeness and there have been deep fakes, but I believe that's all been with permission. So I think one example was Rogue One. Rogue One, they beautifully did Carrie Fisher in there as Princess Leia at the end of Rogue One. But then I've seen a little bit of hokey ones too. So it's a technology that is getting better. And it could get to a point where if you had control of someone's likeness, you could make a movie without them. And that's kind of their concerns. Like they could just, they could just start doing this instead of paying the actors. So that's kind of the protections that they're looking for. And they also want to increase their residuals. So a residual, think of it as whenever they show a rerun, the actor gets a residual. So they get a little bit of well, it's called a residual. They get a residual each time they show it. Now, the problem is reruns are not being shown that much on TV anymore because people now just go to streaming. And with streaming, there's a lot less episodes, tend to have shorter seasons. So they're looking to get more residuals from that so that they're paid for, the shows that are being played all the time. Now, this strike is going to actually impact Canada. And the reason for that is anybody here from the West Coast, you guys probably know Vancouver's nickname is Hollywood North. So a lot of shows are made in Vancouver, and that's all going to start coming to a grinding stop, which means there's going to be all of the people hired that are always employed in Vancouver in that industry, no longer, they're pretty much not having jobs. So while this strike persists, now they hopefully they should have no problems getting like EI or something of that nature. But the longer this goes on, the more it does impact Canada. So Vancouver, definitely. Toronto, they film a lot in Toronto too. And then there's other places as well. Even Nova Scotia has some filming stuff going on there as well. So this is going to impact things the longer it goes. Now, there are some really insidious rumors out there. One rumor that's been flying around, and take this one with a grain of salt, and this rumor is that for the writers at least, Hollywood's plan is to let the writer strike stretch out until about October or later, only because they'll run out of their resources. And when they all of a sudden can't pay their rents and start running into all these financial issues, it would give Hollywood a better position when it comes to going back to the bargaining table. This is a rumor. Let's just be clear on that. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it's all part of this strike. And this strike has been going on for way too long. All right. Let's see. Zach says, Blossom is a great app, especially for tracking allocation, dividends, etc. Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love what that app does. Actually, the last preview of my portfolio, I did it entirely using that app. So shows you some of the data that is there. It's really, really good. See, the Banana Bread Brigade. That's not a bad one, France. I like that. Which stocks? Let's see, which stocks are on sale now that Showbiz is idling? That's a good question. That is a really good question. I don't have an answer to that, Ann. I was going to call you Ann, but you may not be Ann. You may just be AN. That's one I have to sort of dig into. I haven't really dug into that, to be honest. But there's probably going to be some that are going to be starting to slip. And this is a thing. Let's start watching some of the bigger, and I think a lot of the ones that are going to slip probably will be American stocks related. Now, once they run out of shows, now let's go a little further down the line. Things like Cineplex, who has been making a great recovery. Well, when there's no new movies coming to Cineplex, their stocks are going to go down. So that could be a buying opportunity. That's a really good idea, AN. So that's one of those things just to keep in mind. All right. There we go. We're slowly sliding along through the stories. The next story is all about raising rates. Holy banana bread. So we all know that rates have been going up, and we had another meeting of the Bank of Canada. So they did raise their overnight rate up to 5%. So that is up another 25 basis points. And of course, the banks raised their prime rate up to 7.2%. So we are still in a situation where things are going up. Now, as we sort of touched on earlier, and we kind of already dealt with this story, but as we touched on earlier, we're looking at a pause at least until September 6th. And I have a feeling they're going to stay steady until all of this filters up and they see whether they've done enough. But if after things filter up, probably I would say October, if by October it doesn't look good, I would expect another rate hike at that point, but not before October. Yeah. Oh, wow. All right. Pat says, wondering if there has been issues with a broker not pay a dividend you're entitled to. I never watch as I should trust they do. If your broker has not paid you a dividend that you are entitled to, first of all, do your research before you contact the broker. And I'll tell you why, because sometimes people get a little bit confused. So if you bought the stock before the ex-dividend date, so let's say, for example, the ex-dividend date was June 1st. If you bought your stocks in May, you're entitled. But some people get confused on that date. Some people think, oh, I bought it on the 1st, which is the ex-dividend day. I should get that dividend. So no, you wouldn't get that dividend. You have to be the shareholder on record at opening bell on the ex-dividend day. So if you buy it, even if you buy it at opening bell, it's too late. You're not going to get that dividend. So you want to, first of all, you want to double check to make sure that you did buy it before the ex-dividend date. Because I've dealt with this question before, and I've seen both results. I've seen results where somebody had misunderstood how the ex-dividend date worked. And then I've seen some results where, yeah, they weren't paid. Now, if you bought it before the ex-dividend date, then your next step is to double check with that broker and say, okay, look, this is when I bought it. I didn't receive the dividend. It was due to be paid out on, let's say, for example, it was due to be paid out on June 15th. You say it was due to be paid out on June 15th. I didn't get it. I waited, multiple days, because sometimes if you look at the payout date, so if, for example, my favorite example company, Banana Co., if they paid a dividend out and it says that their payment date is June 15th, you probably are not going to see that hitting your broker until the day after, so June 16th. Or if it's a weekend, well, actually, even if it's a weekend, it's usually pretty good that way. So you want to check, make sure that you've eliminated all of that as a possible cause. Then, contact your broker, let them know. And everybody who I've talked to who's run into this, contacting their broker has worked. They're like, oh, yeah, let's take a look at this and find out what happened and get it resolved for you, because that's what they want. The last thing they want is for you to be like, okay, if you're going to screw me on a dividend, I'm going to take my account elsewhere. So they don't want to see that happening. Now, I'm speaking for the brokers that, I've dealt with, National Bank, Wealthsimple. There's some that I haven't dealt with. So maybe if they don't resolve it, maybe you do want to pull things out, but let's hope they resolve it. But make sure you dot all your I's and cross your T's before you contact the broker, just to make sure. All right. Do I have anything else to say about raising rates? No, I think that's about it for raising rates. Let's just take I guess one last thing is US rate raising. I think the Fed is actually looking at one more rate hike as well. They meet towards the end of July. So not the coming week, but I believe the following week. Don't know the exact date, but we'll probably see one more rate hike in the US, just because I think they want to get things tightened a little bit further than they are. But let's take a look and see anyway. All right, the next story is actually a fun one. Let's pull that up. All right, India on the moon. That's kind of funny. So what is India on the moon all about? So India has launched. So the India Space Agency has launched a. And just very quickly, here's Wayne once again with my date. He's the date guy. July 26th. So July 26th is that Fed meeting, and AN is Andrew, not Ann. I didn't think so. I didn't think you were Ann, so that's why I sort of jumped in there. But hello, Andrew. Nice to meet you. All right, let's get back to India. So the India Space Agency, they're launching a spaceship. It's called the Chandrayaan-3, and that launched. Actually, it launched on Friday. So it is a lunar rocket, and they are hoping it's going to become the first rocket to land on the moon's south pole. Now, right now, here's the beautiful thing. There's no people on it. So, this is more of a trial run, but India could be entering the space race. And as funny as that may sound, it's not that funny at all, actually. And I think they're going to be a new player when it comes to the space race. Now, Scott says India stocks to the moon too. Yes, absolutely. Here's the thing about India. When we're talking about going to the moon, India's economy has been exploding. In 2023, they've had the best economy in the world. So let's just put that into perspective. We're talking about growth, economic growth. Now, the biggest economy is still the U.S., followed by China. You've also got Germany and Japan in there as well. So there's a whole bunch. So right now, actually, India right now is in position number 5. So they have the 5th best economy in the world.
I'm sorry.
Hi, Siri. Stop talking to me. So India is 5th best economy in the world. They're doing fantastic. That economy, when an economy is exploding like that, taking advantage of India is, and when I say taking advantage, I mean by investing in India is not a bad time. It's not a bad thing to be doing. Just as Scott said, might be time to get into an India ETF. Absolutely. Or look at companies that are investing in India. So, for example, Apple. Apple's opening up factories. They've also opened up a couple of Apple stores in India. And heck, how's Apple doing lately? Pretty darn good. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about investing. I think India is going to be a very big player. All right. Let's get to our next news story. I like it when we actually bat a couple of these out and then we're not fighting at the end for all of them. We actually have, this is fantastic. We have a crypto story. I'm always excited when we get a crypto story. Before we get into that, Chad says, ZID, great ETF for India. Nice, Chad. There we go. Chad for the win and his ZID, folks. That could be a great little ETF to get yourself some exposure to the Indian market. All right. So Ripple. Have you guys been watching Ripple this week? Oh, boy. It was up insane. So what happened? A New York court ruled in favor of Ripple Labs over the SEC, so the Securities and Exchange Commission. They lost. It's not complete. Everything's not done yet, but it was enough to give Ripple a huge boost. So what this judgment was that they lost is basically the SEC wanted Ripple to basically stop offering XRP and saying that XRP is a security and should be regulated as such. Well, the judgment said, nope, XRP is not a security. And that killed that part of the SEC's case against Ripple. As a result, if you guys watched the other night, Ripple exploded 70% on that news. It was just amazing. If you are invested in Ripple, holy banana bread, you made a little bit of profit. You made a little bit of profit this week. So that is pretty interesting. Now, overall in 2023, there has been a resurgence in crypto. And there's a lot of people saying that the crypto winter of 2022 is now over. I don't know if that's true or not, but there are signs that are certainly pointing in that direction. Here's one of those signs. Because crypto is starting to pick up again, Well, guess who's starting to make money? The crypto miners once again. So since the beginning of the year, the average mining, not all companies, but in total, crypto mining has been up roughly a 470%. So we're talking about there's been a lot of improvement there. So if you do have a favorite crypto miner, that might be a good investment again to take a look at. So it's kind of one of those things with crypto. It's easy to go up and it's easy to go down, but when there are good times in crypto, there can be money to be made. So, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a crypto investor per se, but, I can still get excited. And it is good. I always like to see things. I know a lot of my friends are a lot heavier into crypto than I've ever been. And that to me is fantastic for them. Now, all right, Wayne did mention INDA up 16% since March. Yeah, there we go. Now, I'm not familiar with INDA, but I'm going to assume, Wayne, I'm going to assume that's another India ETF, but it may not be. And Chad says, thanks. Yes, Ripple won their case. And Zach says, I still have a small allocation in crypto, but I just stake for passive income. But I've been fortunate in that asset class. Nice. Yeah, look at this. Hot 8, and that's a crypto miner right there. They've almost doubled since June 12th. So that's pretty darn interesting. Zach started in 2016. I assume that means investing in 2016. And Scott says, just have to wait for the Bitcoin spot ETF in the States, and then you get your rocket ship. And you know what? It's getting closer. It's really, really getting closer. It's really interesting. I know everybody and their dog thought there would be a spot Bitcoin ETF a year ago. I even believed there was a half decent chance, but it hasn't happened. So I know the SEC is kind of doesn't want it, and they're fighting it. But at the same time, I think at this point the SEC has to just sort of step back a little bit and maybe let it happen, especially with some of the compromises that Grayscale, for example, had been willing to make, and now also ARK Invest was looking to make the same deals as Grayscale. So it's going to be really interesting. Oh, so it's a US ETF. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Something ideal for the RRSP. 2016 in crypto, PMs 2018. And the market just since March. Okay. So you're brand new to the market, but you got a little bit of experience there on the crypto side. And that's kind of cool. And I think that happened. I think a lot of people who had been riding the highs on crypto when everything went to crap. When everything went to crap, I think a lot of people got disillusioned a little bit with crypto, and it's like, okay, let's go over to the stock market. I think when it comes down to, and I think this in the future, let's look ahead into the future a little bit. I think once we get a little more regulation on crypto, you're going to see crypto becoming one of those asset classes that everybody has. I think that's going to happen. It's going to take time though. And it's going to take time for people to fully get into it. But as the old guard continues to filter out, as the baby boomers retire, as newer blood moves up, people, the things that change and the ideas that can filter and percolate in society, I think, are also getting a little bit more crypto friendly, let's just say. See, do you know any crypto mining ETF? I don't. I do not know of a crypto mining ETF, but I do know that there's a couple of things that I like. With Purpose, you have a few different good ETFs. One, you've got a spot Bitcoin ETF. You've also got a spot Ethereum ETF. You've also got yield ones where they actually are, they're doing covered calls on it as well, where you can get some half decent yield in addition to the actual amount of movement going up with the price. So those ones do move up quite a bit. The only unfortunate thing is that, let's take, for example, BTCY, that there's the high yield Bitcoin ETF. That one, when it first came out, it came out at the height of Bitcoin. Bitcoin was like up around 60,000. I mean, it was a fantastic little ETF, but the problem is if you bought in at that point, and a lot of people did, Bitcoin then crashed, going all the way down to under 20,000. It wasn't under 20,000 for long, but so you lost a lot of value in that. Now, people buying who bought in at 20,000 are smiling right now because they've got all of that growth. Plus, they got the dividend. That's not a bad thing. So that's kind of one of those things to look at. So I don't yet know about a Bitcoin miners ETF, but I would not be surprised if they don't have it. And here we go. Scott says IBLC from iShares has some miners. So that might be one to take a look at. And I think if we do get a new crypto surgence, people are making ETFs like crazy now because they're just so popular. So I really think we'll look at a situation where we do have more of those ETFs dropping in. Sammer says, I have BTCC. Okay, and that's another one of the spot ones. That's the one that doesn't have dividends, I believe. I believe it's just straight spot Bitcoin ETF. And let's see. Wayne says crypto and gold have moved higher, partially due to the US dollar collapse. Yeah, absolutely. So keep in mind, when the US dollar falls, because where Bitcoin is priced in US dollar, it automatically inflates Bitcoin. Same idea, when the US dollar rises, it pushes the price down for Bitcoin. But here's the thing. It's not actually lowering the volume or raising the volume of Bitcoin, because one Bitcoin, it's still one Bitcoin. It's just what it's priced in. Like if you had it priced in, a different country's dollar, you're not going to see the same movement as you'll see with the US one when it's changing. So it's just, and it's the same thing with oil as well, where oil is priced in West Texas Intermediate, which is how much US dollars goes per barrel. When the dollar goes up, that does push oil down a little bit. So that's just a little thing about the way things work. All right. And I just missed a couple more here. Is that just crypto is diluting? Yeah, that's a possibility. Let's see. The scalability isn't what it once was. I would agree with you on that. All right. Now, one last one from Zach as we're catching up. True, I'll always hold PMs, but my new love is the market. Yeah, the market is... Here's the thing with the market. I think the market, I would say less black swan events, because there's so many things where crypto is so volatile, it doesn't take much for bigger price movements. So if you're playing a game where you want to do swing trading, crypto is a great place to swing trade once you get an idea. Now, with crypto as well, if you're swing trading, you want to be good with technical analysis, because that's really going to help you figure out where things are moving to. Now, with the regular market, yeah, technical analysis is great for swing trading, but you also then start looking behind at that fundamental analysis, because that's really going to give you the overall movement, because that becomes your safety net. So, for example, if a company has insanely great fundamentals, but you do some TA, and the TA looks good, but it breaks to the downside instead of the upside, you have that safety net of that company's fundamentals. So you don't have to sell and take that loss, because you know that it's going to recover. You know that that company is going to get you back up where you are. Now, if it's a situation where you don't have a choice, then you don't have a choice. And that sometimes happens with crypto. Because sometimes with crypto, you don't know that it's going to come back up, depending on what happened. Because you take it when it broke down, when it was up around the all-time high and it started breaking down. Well, it really broke down, and we have never seen those all-time highs again. And it may be a long time before we see those all-time highs. So keep that in mind. Too bad they weren't correlated to Zimbabwe dollars. Yeah, that'd be kind of funny. Actually, there's been actually a lot of some really good economic growth in parts of Africa. So that's kind of interesting. Apology? No, you don't have to apologize. Make as many comments as you want. I'm okay with it. That's what we're here for. If nobody talks, then it's just me talking, and next thing you know, the news is done, and I'm starting to tell you stories about what the kitten did yesterday. So yeah, No, talk. Keep it going. Like when we get to a situation here, like right now we're at 49 minutes. Like ideally I plan for 60 minutes of content. And if conversation's going good, we go longer. I've seen times where we've gone to an hour and 30 minutes because we've had great conversation. So heck, that's the way I look at it. Keep the conversation going. It makes the stream a little longer, and we get through stuff. Now we do have a few. We have more stories. Look at that. I love it. I love it when the stories are taking forever to get through it, because it means that great conversation. All right, let's jump to the next story. BC port strike is over. Yes, this is a good thing. So the BC port strike, they have hit a tentative deal. It's a 4-year deal. They haven't really released any of the details in the deal, but the deal's good enough that everybody went back to work. So that is the best part about it. Now, it is estimated, because this was a 13-day strike. This 13 days of the port workers on the West Coast being on strike is going to cost the Canadian economy roughly $9.7 billion. That's nuts. And in addition to that, we have a backlog of 63,000 containers, and it's probably going to take 2 months. I'd say it's going to take 2 months, maybe a little longer, to get through all of that backlog. So there is an impact on the supply chain. There is an impact on Canada, but at least we're getting that all fixed up. All right, now this next story. Holy banana bread. I couldn't believe this when I read it, but no Bard for you. So as you guys are probably aware, Bard is Google's AI. So Alphabet has that AI called Bard. That's that one that had that embarrassing press conference where it got some big stuff wrong in the press conference. Well, they've been working on it. Apparently, it's half decent now. Now, they've rolled it out to most of the world. But there's this little problem going on in Canada. And that problem is called that Online News Act. So Alphabet said, you know what? Where Canada is doing this stupid Online News Act, we're just not going to let them have Bard. We're putting them on the no Bard list. So Canada has been put on that no Bard list. Now, we get to share that no Bard list with a couple of other countries. Winners, total winners. No, they're not winners, but total. Anyway, we're on the list with Russia and North Korea. So we're like the axis of evil when it comes to Bard. Russia, North Korea, and Canada. Holy banana bread. So that's kind of funny, but no Bard for us at all, which is hilarious. I don't know if they're going to leave us on that list forever, or if it's just kind of maybe they will. Maybe they absolutely will. Until, the Online News Act, it has been ratified into law. Maybe in 2025, I think Polyev says I think this is one of the ones he said he would repeal. Maybe if it gets repealed, we'll be able to get Bard then. But for now, there's no Bard for you unless you use a VPN. And don't worry, I'm not sponsored by any VPN, so I'm not going to tell you to use any. Use the Shark VPN or the Banana Bread VPN. Who knows? There's no VPNs, but yeah, if you use a VPN, you can probably work around that and maybe use Bard if you want to. But I mean, you still got ChatGPT, so you're okay when it comes to that. All right. Oh, I find that funny.
Here's what I find.
Dear God, Siri, shut up. Siri has been very vocal today. Normally in a stream, she speaks up maybe once. Today, 3 times. And hopefully you guys can hear it. Otherwise, it just sounds like I'm just yelling, shut up off the screen when there's nobody there. That would be funny. Please tell me you guys could hear Siri, because otherwise I probably am coming off a little bit like I took a bang to the head or something. All right, we got one last story. Let's just get this one done and over with. Prime profits. So everybody's favorite time, if you're a shopper, is Prime Days over at Amazon. And Amazon is very happy this year with their Prime Day. They made a profit of 12.9 billion American. That was how much they made over that 2-day event. And here's the thing. That was 8 billion more than they made last year's Prime Day. So that's just incredible. And during those 2 days, their share price went from $127.81 up to $135.91. That's basically a 6.35% increase in share price in just those 2 days. I'm telling you, this never crossed my mind. This never even crossed my mind, but I'm thinking next year with Prime Day, I might just pick up some Amazon stocks to play. Just make some extra profit for a couple of days. Why not? So that's kind of an interesting thing. So anyway, that is the news. So the news is now done. We still have next week. Let's get rid of that purple. Let's get rid of that orange. So next week, in Canada, on Tuesday, we got the CPI coming out, so we can take a glance and see how inflation is doing. Hopefully, it's gone down. I think it will. I think inflation's been moving in the right direction, so let's hope it continues to go down. In the U.S. next week, there's really nothing of note. It's a very slow week, which to me means there's a good chance the market could be green next week. When there's no real catalyst to be pulling the market down, we tend to get green weeks. So I think it'll look pretty darn good. Now, earnings wise, we do have a few earnings. If you're into choice properties, so chp.un, their earnings will be coming out this week. Now, they have been on a downslide in this quarter, so I'm really not expecting anything good from them. So, we've also got Prairie Sky Royalty. Now, I love royalty companies. So their ticker is PSK. They've actually been trending up this quarter. So I think they're going to have a half decent earnings report. And the last of the significant ones is the A&W Revenue Royalties Fund, so AW.UN. They've had a flat quarter, so I'm not really expecting much from them. Of the three, I would say Prairie Sky Royalty will have probably the best earnings report out of those three. So just things to keep in mind. All right. So without going into detail, macros, which I'm sure you're aware of, a downturn is pretty much guaranteed. My DCA on VFB is 101 at the moment. I'm wondering if I should start putting half my money into cash. All right, so cash, by the way, everybody, that there is one of those money ETFs. So it's basically, in this case here, cash, I believe it goes for $50. And usually by the time you get, it goes up a tiny bit through the month and then goes back down to 50 every month on ex-dividend day. But it's a good place you can put your money and actually get some returns on it. Last time I looked at cash, and I do own some. I do have some in cash right now. The dividend was around, I think, 5.25%. So it may be going up again because we had another rate hike. So that's one of those things to keep in mind. So whether or not is it a good idea to move VFV, it really boils down to if it's something that you want to do. I'm probably looking to move a few things into cash myself, but that's for a completely different reason. It's not really so much about my dollar cost averaging strategy. So I would say it's really up to you. I'm not going to say which way you should go or not go, Zach, but cash is a nice safe place to store some stuff if you want to. And if you want to get more of it's not technically fixed income, but it's like fixed income. It's very, very close. The difference between fixed income and something like cash is that if the management company of cash, and I don't know if cash is Purpose, it might be. It's either Purpose or Horizons. If that company went out of business, and that's not going to happen, let's just be honest, it won't. But if it does happen, you don't have the protections that you would have with like a fixed income. Like if you get a GIC with the bank, and that bank went out of business, you'd be covered by CDIC. So that's kind of the big difference. So anyway, just one thing to put in mind. Jay says everybody on holidays. Yeah. I mean, hey, if you're on holidays, that's awesome. I don't think I'm taking a holiday this summer, but but I kind of feel like I'm overdue for a holiday. But let's take a look here. Darren says, "Hi, Candace, your two favorite growth stocks." Oh, that's a really good question. My When it comes to growth stocks, like my favorite stocks overall are total return stocks. Like I love a stock that has a half decent dividend and has a good amount of growth with it. And sometimes that half decent dividend doesn't have to be like a 10% or higher. I can go with a much lower value than that as long as I'm getting a good amount of growth. Like for example, CNR, which is one of my favorite stocks, growth wise, especially when we move into the bull market, oh my God, they're going to be doing really well. Their dividend's not huge, but with the between the dividend and the growth, when things are looking good, I can sometimes get returns up to 20% and or even a little higher. And that's not a bad thing. But oh, right now, here's the thing. You can't ignore Tesla as much as we sometimes would like to ignore Tesla. Um, Tesla has been, since the beginning of this year, they've been up about 140%. That's 140%, and they're pure growth. And Tesla is one of them companies that every time you think they're down and everybody's like, sell all your Tesla, get out. It's gonna go. Elon's gonna run it into the ground. They turn around and they completely explode and they do crazy stuff like what they're doing right now. So yeah, Tesla would definitely be one of them. And if you don't currently invest in American stocks, well, maybe you should. America is the largest market in the world, and it's sad to ignore them completely. Now, with something like Tesla, if you are going to invest in it, it's a perfect stock to throw into your TFSA. Reason it's perfect for that one is you don't have to worry about dividends, and then all that growth is just absolutely tax free. So yeah, definitely Tesla, and I'm still sticking with my CNR just because I love that. It may not be the best answer, but it is one of my favorites. See, my time horizon is very long as I'm 29. Okay, yeah, that's a good time horizon. So yeah, at 29, you should have a good amount of growth in your portfolio because you have that time to recover when things do go wrong. Now, if you're 59, well, you don't have a lot of time to recover. So at that point, you might be thinking, okay, maybe it's not the best time to be all growth. I got to start thinking about your passive income. So that's kind of one of these neat little things. Now, I do have an interesting thing coming up soon, but I'll mention that here in a moment. Let's try to get caught up a bit more. Color Stream Contracting says, what do you think happened to TELUS International? That's a good question. And I will honestly say I haven't really looked into what happened to TELUS International on that side. So I don't really have an answer for that one, Color. It would be 100% speculation. Do you think it's worth to buy TELUS right now? It's on a discount. I do own TELUS. I do like the price right now. I've been kind of holding off, though, buying into the telecoms. And the only reason is I want to see the fallout from Freedom going national and see if that's going to impact their bottom line. So I'm probably going to wait until I see their next earnings report to sort of see whether we have a sign of something happening or not. So that we'll have to take a look at and see how that looks. All right. And Wayne day trades Tesla, targeting $300 to exit probably this week. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that doesn't sound like a day trade. That sounds like a swing trade, Wayne. Because normally with day trading, you want to get in and out in the same day. But that does sound like you've got a big, and maybe you're doing hybrid, that's, day trading on some stuff. And this is more of a swing. But yeah, $300. Nice. CNR will be my next individual. I'll only hold 5 to 8 individuals. Oh, okay. All right. That's fair. Well, Warren Buffett actually says that you only need to hold, you don't have to hold like a ton of stocks. Basically, only invest in stocks that that you know the company well, that you understand the company, because then you don't have to, you get a better idea of what's going on, and that gives you a better way to respond to market conditions. Let's see here. Yeah, forward guidance was in the dumps. I am still short. So Wayne is shorting TELUS, and that's the thing. I'm in a hold on TELUS. I won't buy anymore until I can see that things look a little bit better. right now. Zach says, and yes, my RRSP is pure growth with VEQT and waiting for a pullback on HXQ. I do have some VEQT in my RRSP as well. But I love my dividend growth ETFs and my TFSA, as mentioned. So VDY, XEI, HCAL. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Wayne saying swing day trade. Exactly. Awesome. Woo-hoo, I caught up. All right. So coming up this week, Tuesday's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm actually doing a mid-year review on, well, news stories. What are the big stories that drove the market in the first half of 2023? We're going to look at those on the Tuesday video. The Friday video looks like it's going to be Berkshire Hathaway unless the voting changes drastically. But I think right now they've got a sizable lead. There's another vote as well that went to channel members. So that vote that I went to channel members was in regards to the way I'm doing the voting right now. Normally, as long as you come in not last, you can stay in the thing forever, until eventually somebody will give you the chance to get that deep dive done. But we've decided to put a time limit on it. And the community members have voted for 3 weeks. So once you get pulled in from the pool and you're in that vote, you've got 3 weeks to hit number one or you're gone. So that's just kind of that thing. That way there we can get a lot more companies and we don't get some stagnant companies that are just sitting in there. We can just pull in a lot more interesting ones. So just keep in mind, when you have a company you want me to look at, throw it in the comment on any one of my deep dives and I'll add it to that pool or just mention it to me. And we'll get that added in because I definitely want to do that. And I'm trying to do it this way as well. When it comes to the American, I do want to do some more American stuff. So each week there's 5 companies up for a vote. And my goal is to usually have 3 Canadian and 2 American. That's the goal. But if we run out of one or the other because people haven't been submitting it, I'm going to still put up the ones people submit first. But anyway, that's just kind of how that is working. Also, I mentioned, of course, the community members. We got the community member exclusive video that is coming out on Saturday. So people have given me different topics to vote on. So I don't know, people really like that reaction video. So they want me to do another reaction video or a GeoGuessr game, which technically isn't finance. What was the other ones? Exclusive live stream. And there was definitely another one in there as well. A video on who my favorite Canadian YouTubers are, financial. So that's a huge one as well. So we got a whole bunch of different ones in there. That voting ends on Wednesday. So if you want access to the community stuff, all you gotta do is right down below the chat, there's this little $sign thingy. Click on that, become a channel member. I think it's about the price of a coffee every month. Supports the channel and it gives you a voice. I also post all kinds of stuff for you guys. And as we get bigger and bigger in the channel, with the channel members, we're going to do more and more. So we're going to look at ways to improve that value as we go as well. So anyway, that's the good old channel membership. And let's see here. Zach says, thank you, Candace. Have a good week. All right. Well, thank you, Zach. I had a fantastic week so far. Andrew says, are you still a big Canoe fan? Yes, absolutely. Still my biggest holdings. I talk about Canoe a fair amount, but Canoe is in my hold only because I am over diversified into it. I like to try to keep my diversification at about 5%. Canoe, I think I've fallen to about 7%. So I don't sell any of the Canoe. But that's just one of those things. One thing I am looking at doing is I'm thinking about doing a series where over on my National Bank, I've got a TFSA over there. And I've got about $10,000 worth of room. So I'm thinking of starting just a beginner series over there where I start that TFSA and I add right now the number floating in my head is $333 a month to it. And then just slowly build it and do like a once a month video on it just to sort of show. This would be more aimed at people who are just starting so they can sort of see and then get a chance to take a look at the snowball as it starts to form. that's a thought. I haven't completely committed to doing that yet, but that is something that would be kind of fun to do as we go along. So that is a good thing. And Wayne says, take care. Let's go. Let's go. Let's make some dough. I like making dough. I like making a lot of dough. And the kitten is nearby here. Bring me the kitten. For those who love to see the kitten, here she is. Hey, 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 look. Look at the camera, kitten. Well, she may not look at the camera because I don't know what she's doing. She's just thinking. I am looking into, by the way, getting a kitty cam. Because one of the things I thought would be fun is I have over here, let me show you this. Let's bring this over here. So this is a tower at the window. Whoa, movement. And there's the hide on the kitten's running away as I'm saying this. But the hide, a lot of times they like to sleep there. So one of my thoughts is actually putting a kitty cam up there. So I've been looking into that to see if I can get it to work. So that way there, for example, here you'd have my picture and I could drop my picture a little lower and then maybe have in the top little corner where the logo is a little kitty cam so you guys can see if there's a cat up there sleeping or anything like that. So that's just a thought. If you like the kitty, I might do that. And I know I've had a few people say, please bring the kitty back on the stream. So, we'll do that. Of course, she may lose the cuteness once she becomes a cat. That happens. But we'll see. I have a feeling she's going to be a nice looking cat as well. So we'll definitely get a cat cam down the road. Taking a look at it, trying to find the right one. And I want to make sure it's going to work correctly. I want it to work as a second camera going into my system here. So anyway, that's all we got for you guys this week. If on your way out, if you want to just slam that like button, if you haven't done it already, it does help the algorithm. And I don't understand the algorithm myself, so I'm not going to try to explain it. But we'll be back here again next week. We'll do this all over again. We'll have brand new news. And I'm sure I'll probably have fiddled with that, with the news thing again by then, because I'm always fiddling until I get it perfect. It's not perfect yet. So we're probably looking at changing the black to something with a little bit more contrast, I think. Anyway, until next week, we will see you guys again. Have a fantastic afternoon. And if you're on vacation watching this from a tent, let me know, because that would be beyond cool. That would mean, like, especially if you're not listening, if you don't have headphones on, maybe a Bigfoot is in the woods listening to me. Well, if Bigfoot were real. And maybe it is. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you guys think Bigfoot's real. I don't know. Anyway, until then, we'll see you guys next week. Have a fantastic week and take care. Goodbye, everybody.